Hi, I'm Greg Alderman, and welcome to One Voice Board. Thanks for coming to check us out. And obviously, you're here to answer or get an answer to the question, why does One Voice Board exist? Well, I want to answer it by looking at 2020. We all know what happened in March of 2020. The pandemic, the global pandemic caused by the coronavirus hit everybody, every aspect of not only our society, but the international community hit it hard. Education was affected. Economics was obviously affected. The way we relate together culturally was affected, and certainly it affected the church. We've found out that in the aftermath of 2020, the effect on the church was pretty profound. One slice of the effect was looking at the churches that closed. There were over 4,000 churches that closed their doors in 2020. There was also 20,000 pastors that left the ministry. Both of those stats for me are heartbreaking. What's even more telling is that Barna Research dove into the numbers and got behind them and found out that of the remaining pastors who stayed behind in the ministry, almost 50% of them would leave the ministry if they had some other way to support their family. These things should startle us. They should wake us up to the problem that everybody's facing. Well, Barna did some deep dive into why those churches closed and why those pastors left the ministry and why the pastors who were still in the ministry feel stressed. And one of the number one identified reasons is a poor relationship between the board and the pastor. When I read that, I wasn't surprised. And the reason I'm not surprised is because I have been working with boards of all kinds, from church boards to denomination boards to nonprofit boards to even Little League, which I was a part of. And I've discovered that most boards at the very best are underdeveloped. And in more often the cases, they're actually unhealthy. And the reason they're underdeveloped at best and unhealthy in most cases is because most pastors and most executives of small nonprofits don't feel comfortable or don't feel knowledgeable about how to manage their boards or train their board members. And in the absence of being trained, what I've discovered about most board members in churches and nonprofits is that they are too conscientious not to do a good job. I mean, they signed up because they love what the organization is about. But if they're not trained in those principles and they're not given a good understanding of what their job actually is, they will create a job. And if you're creating a job for yourself that's not based on biblical principles, godly principles that I believe drive good governance, then you'll create one from your gut. And the one that you create from your gut is going to be based on your sin nature. So OVB exists to come alongside churches and nonprofit boards to train them in what we would call the good, godly principles of governance, of board governance. And these principles are true regardless of the structure or the way that the board is particularly governed in terms of its mechanics. Now, that doesn't mean structure and mechanics of board governance aren't important. In fact, I'll cover those things in future videos. But what's far more important than structure and the mechanics of board governance is the principles, the heart behind board governance. We want to come alongside churches and nonprofits that in most cases can't afford it and provide free training materials and free coaching to anybody that reaches out to us. The way we do that is through the generous support of our donors. If you're interested in finding out more about One Voice Board, if you're interested in us coming alongside and helping you in your governance, or if you're interested in becoming a supporter so that we can give away what we do for free, please reach out to us at greg@onevoiceboard.org. Thanks for checking us out.